Good morning, my dear friends. In today's gospel, Jesus appeared not only once, but thrice. First, to Mary Magdalene. Then, he appeared to the two of them. And later that day, he appeared to the 11. For this reflection this morning, I would like to dwell and to highlight my reflection on the first appearance, that is to Mary Magdalene. I highlight this one because there is a connection between this and our first reading. He appeared to Mary Magdalene, a woman. And then, the Gospel says, when Mary told them, when he told those who were with her, she went out and told those who had been with him while they were mourning and weeping, meaning the disciples. When Mary told them that Jesus appeared to her, the Gospel says they did not believe her. They have doubts. They're very skeptical of the proclamation and the revelation of Mary Magdalene. Why? Because maybe she's a public, not maybe, but she's a public sinner. Because the Gospel says, for whom he had cast out 7 demons. Can you imagine that one? So she's a public sinner, and she had no credibility. That's why her revelation is questionable. Or another interpretation of not believing her, maybe because she's a woman. Because a woman during this time were considered voiceless. They have no influential status. They were powerless, and they don't have authority. And even in our first reading for today, the rulers, the elders, and the scribes, they did not believe Peter and John. Why? Because it says here, Peter and John were uneducated and ordinary men. So there's a connection between the revelation and the revelation of Mary Magdalene and the proclamation of Peter and John. They were ordinary, uneducated, no status, no authority. So what's the gospel reading and the first reading is trying to tell us this morning? The message is very clear. Number one, you know what? God will use the nobody to transform everybody. God will use the weak to lead the strong. God will utilize the coward to persuade the brave. God will use the humble to shame the proud. And God will bring the ignorant into play to teach the arrogant. Peter and John were considered uneducated, ordinary men, but they were used by God to teach the rulers, the scribes, and the authorities during this time. That's why if you felt that you are weak, if you felt that you are nobody, you are ignorant, you felt that you don't have status and no authority, today, like Mary Magdalene and Peter and John, allow God to use you to transform our community, to transform the world. My dear friends, my dear brothers and sisters, the gospel says they did not believe her. And I think it resonates with our situation nowadays. Why? Because lack of faith is our major, most probably, concerns. in our world nowadays. Lack of faith. Because people magnify the power of doubt and worship the supremacy of reason over faith. In our world, even here in our community, there are good numbers of those who still do not believe in Jesus. They did not believe. That's why we are challenged to be an evangelizer. At the end of the gospel it says, and I quote, "Go into the world to proclaim the good news to the whole creation." And this is our mission. Even if people don't believe in us, even if others will consider us as uneducated, no authority, and ordinary people, our mission is to go into the world to proclaim the good news. We are encouraged to be an evangelizer, to be a missionary. And we have to start the world in our family. We have to start that in our neighborhood. Because we cannot speak, we cannot spread rather the truth if even in our home, even in our family circle, even in our group of friends, we do not do the job of evangelization. The command of the Lord is to proclaim the truth about His mercy and love. But you know what? Sometimes when we tell the truth, when we proclaim and become missionary and evangelizers, sometimes we will encounter people who will discourage us, people who are skeptical on our message, people who will not believe on us. And worse comes to worse, when we become missionary and evangelizers, some others will persecute and humiliate us. But have courage. Why? And this is now the connection in our first reading. Because like Peter and John, in today's first reading, we should tell those skeptics on our faith, and we will tell them, we must obey God rather than men. Peter and John were uneducated and ordinary men, no special status, but like Mary Magdalene, God allows them to educate the rulers, the elders, and the scribes of their time. To end up with my reflection, today, Saturday within the octave of Easter, the gospel is telling me anew of this message, that God will continue to use the insignificant people like us to do great things for the gospel. God will use ordinary men and women, not superstars. And friends, brothers and sisters, it is always better to obey God than men. Like Peter and John, follow the law of God. Like Mary Magdalene, continue to be a missionary and evangelizer, even if others are very skeptical on the message you bring. I say it again, it is better to obey God rather than men.